I'd like to call this meeting of the RTM Parks and Recreation Committee, regular meeting on Wednesday, May 7th. It's in person and hybrid in room 119. Attendance, Patty Baumgardner,
Here.
Diane Conalog,
Here.
Cheryl Russell. She's there. You're there.
Here.
Kelly Scanlon, Penny Wilson,
Here.
Carrie Cardone,
Here.
Adele Conniff, Sue Ellen Mitchell,
Here.
Jean here, Andy Millar. Andy?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Kelly.
Yay.
Yeah, Kelly's here.
By phone.
Thank you. Sandy's running late, so hopefully soon. Susan Marks is not here, and Deb. Are you Deb or
Here.
Debbie?
Debbie, here.
You Debbie?
Yep.
Put the I in there.
Yeah.
Hey Patty, you gotta mute.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying.
So this is the one with the buttons rather than the one.
I go outside.
Okay. First on, next on the agenda is approval of minutes from April 2nd. That's a good idea.
You know what, I don't want her to be second.
I think that's the best thing, and then when we get to the point where you ask a question or vote. Okay. So, the minutes of 4/12, are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as done, very nicely by Jean, once again. So that was, yeah, right, Carrie and Kelly,
Carrie and Kelly.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I hear you. Patty, I think we'll say.
She's muted now, so.
She just raised her hand.
And she raised her hand, okay, that's an aye, okay, all right. So, discuss and vote on the Board of Finance approved Parks and Recreation portion of the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 26 through fiscal year 31. And also, I think at the same time, let's vote on the fiscal year 26 Park and Rec Reserve Fund for capital and non-recurring expenses. They're all on this piece of paper, and I gave everybody, I got some. Sure.
You have extras. Yeah. Thank you.
Did I need one?
Here? Do you need one?
Nope, I got one. Well, I don't, yeah, I do, I have mine.
I know, I've been having the same thing.
Don't have another one, so you'll have to share. Well, actually, I do. Okay. All right, so I just thought it'd be easier to vote on those at the same time. There was only one, okay, first of all, let's do the 6-year plan. Notice that what am I going to put, let's see, the 6-year plan. Notice that in the 6-year plan, we have Pear Tree Beach and Weed Beach projects are in there. The numbers have been adjusted to the last cost estimates that were received for them, so it's not current numbers, it's just put back to what we know was real instead of estimated what it might be. So, and these are just part of the 6-year plan here. You'll notice that when we get to the capital for this year, you'll see that is separated out. So, so now we're going to just vote on the 6-year plan. And we'll know. And then now, so let me walk through the capital. So, any questions about the 6-year plan?
So just for me who's new, can you just help to, so we're just approving what's in the plan at the moment, we're not approving how much money is allotted to it?
Right, only things that are in this year's budget will be, we'll be voting for, okay, what we have to do. All right, the state is requiring the towns have 6-year plans now, and that they vote on this, which is why we'll all vote on a 6-year plan at the RTM meeting. It's not, this is the second year they've done it. So this is the
Can I
plan.
ask why they, I mean,
You know, I don't have
I
any.
think I know the state just.
I guess they want to think that we have a plan.
Okay.
But nobody, just because it's in here doesn't mean it's gonna happen.
And just
If it's
because
not in here, doesn't mean it's not
gonna
gonna happen either, you know, so it can be, so that, it's a plan, and it's makes sense pretty much.
Got
So if you go to what either the Board of Finance approved for 25, 26, or just the 25, 26 column, that is the plan for, that is the capital, that's our capital for this year. I said that that weed and pear tree were not in this year's capital. They are and they aren't. They aren't, they're in the 6-year plan, but if you go to the end of the, where it says total capital, the total, and then under it, it says RFCNRE annual budget. The annual budget number is the number in our budget this year for capital, okay? And then in the next, and you notice the next is bond issue. Those two items, that's the addition of those two items of what they would be if they were bonded. That hasn't happened, but do you see the difference of what they're trying to make a distinction here? So, it's in here, but it's not funded yet, is the word, but possible. It would be a bond issue if funded. So what we're voting on is minus those two things, and so we're voting, I'll walk you through exactly what we're voting for, okay? First, the 6-year plan. Second, which is Part B of 2514, is the appropriation for the reserve fund for capital non-recurrent expenditures, which I just showed you, $732,000.
So that's for RFCNRE, that's the reserve fund?
Yep, that's what it stands for. So that's this year's budget. So it's Cherry Lawn at $165,000 to dredge the pond. It's $14,500 at McGuan to replace the railings on the handicapped accessible ramp. It's $381,000 at Tilly Pond to dredge Tilly Pond. It's $20,500 at Weed Beach to redo one of the paddle ports. It's park and recreation equipment. It's $5,000 for small capitals, which is just an unassigned appropriation for miscellaneous needs. It's $6,000 for tree replacement. Remember, that's what was taken out of the, removed from the operating budget and put into the capital budget by Jim Charneski. $107,700 to replace a loader truck, which is 20 years old. $13,500 for accessible mats for the beaches. That's one mat for each beach. $8,000 for a log grapple, which is an attachment that they can pick up big logs and things. It goes on various pieces of equipment, and it makes it safer for the staff during cleanups. $5,800 for a lift gate for the truck to replace the gate, which is rusted out, and $5,000 for a portable sound system, which was requested initially at $11,400, but was reduced to $5,000. It's the same system. They just have one speaker instead of two to give it a try, because the Board of Finance wanted them to reduce the expenditure if they could. So they'll see if it works with just one speaker. If it's loud enough, in other words, with just one speaker. Not supported was the request for the financial sustainability strategy, which you can see on that second page of your handout there, where it doesn't, it's in the board, it went through the Board of Selectmen, but not through the Board of Finance or the final thing. May I have any questions?
So the meadow and the trail you skipped,
I did, and
it's like 2 million.
that's because it's not in this year's capital budget. I'm gonna talk about it later,
Okay.
but it's gonna come off cycle. Both the Pear Tree Point project and the Meadow and Trail project are going to come to the RTM off cycle instead of being in the budget,
Okay.
okay? You want me to explain it now instead of later?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
let me explain it now. Okay. The first selectman's gonna give the RTM an update on this, and I think he's gonna explain this at the RTM meeting, because, it's confusing, isn't it? So, why? Well, first of all, the bids were not ready before they got through the process for the budget. In other words, if they'd have had the numbers by the time before the Board of Finance voted, they could have done it. But they didn't have the numbers. So that's for either project. Both of them are over $1 million, so they're eligible and likely to be bonded if funded. And they both were reviewed by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance during the budget process. During the spring, the Board of Selectmen went through and set up some criteria for how you could, why or when you could take a project off cycle, in other words, not in the budget. And because there'd been an awful lot of things coming down the pipe that the RTM thought really should have been included in the budgets. But so therefore they set up these criteria. Probably both of them would have to have building committees as well, but that's down the road if they get funded. But, so that's the reason why. Does it make sense? Okay. That's the reason.
And then the 1.9 and the 6, and the 1.9, this is not the new,
No, this is reverting back to a previous
right, so they
estimate.
still
They
haven't
really,
received their.
exactly. Okay.
That was coming soon, right?
I can say it now instead of later.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. It's part of
Save it for later.
it's part of my chairman's report, but,
You save it for me.
it's okay, it's not that difficult, and I'm sure Cheryl probably wants to hear it too. So, two things. The Pear Tree Beach project, he's working on, Dan Biggs' work from Weston and Sampson is working on the bid now. Expected to be ready by June 1st and out, okay? According to our first selectman, when he spoke I was at the boat club meeting on Monday night, and he said, it's pedal to the metal, really. We need to get the shovel in the ground, and so they're hoping it'll come to they'll get it to the RTM in September. To get it. Yeah, so it's fast forward as best they can, so.
So expects bids to be ready by June 1st, and then first selectman hopes
Hopes to bring it to the RTM by
to bring to RTM.
but it's that late September meeting at the RTM. For the Weed Beach project, as you probably remember, the bids will be open tomorrow. So they're out and they'll be back. And they are hoping to come to the RTM in June. So, here's what I want to say is that, first of all, I moved our June meeting. If you notice at the bottom of the agenda tonight, I moved the June meeting because we were scheduled for the 9th, I think. 9th? Can we? No, the 11th. We were scheduled for the 11th, but the RTM moved its meeting back a week. So it didn't hit so it didn't mess with graduation. So, I signed us up for this room on the 4th of June. Okay, so dialing it back for weed, that's really, I think we need some more information before then. Here's what I was going to tell you. I'm thinking we'll need to have an earlier meeting where we can receive some detail on the project and then maybe vote on the 4th of June. Some of you have been on this committee for a while and have seen various iterations of this project. Others are new and will be learning. Everyone has questions. There is much misinformation out there. The commission is working on a fact sheet to help everyone. So let's gather our questions and send them to me. Once the bids are open and final choice is made, we should meet and have someone lay it out for us, so we know exactly what it is. Because it's been this, it's been a little, it's tweaked. They've taken down all these trees. They didn't take down as many as they said they did. there's lots of misinformation out there, so let's just get the facts, and so everybody's on the same playing field here, and we understand it before we make a decision. So that's my take on it, so I'll be looking for a date, but nothing happens until they read the bids, they see what it's gonna cost. There are no lights in it. What else can I say? I can answer a few questions, but at any rate,
Did you want lights in it?
no, the neighbors didn't want lights, but some of the misinformation out there is that there are lights in the project. They're not. What they're doing is burying the cable to go to the bathhouse, so that's not overhead lines. So that's the only thing that has anything to do with electricity. They're just burying it underneath.
So then people are saying, oh, it's gonna be lighted up.
I don't know what they're saying, but anyway, I'm just saying right now there are no lights in the plan.
And that meeting, is it just for us, or is it open to the public as well?
I think it's basically our meeting. It probably will be our meeting. I think people can submit questions. It won't be, we don't really have public comment in our meeting. But it's really for us. But of course, it's a public meeting, so, other people.
Adele, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Who would you think or expect or want to come to present to us? Because there are definitely people with various levels of knowledge, and I think we should get the person with the most knowledge.
Yes,
And so, I don't know if that's Dan Biggs or if it's...
In my mind, it is, Patty.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my mind, it is. So it probably would be a Zoom, because Dan lives north. And so that would be not easier for him. If we can manage it with we'll organize with the commission and this department and whoever else. He may be going to other groups too. So we'll organize it, but that is my goal, is to have him lay it all out for us so we know exactly what's in the project.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And you know how we've done joint meetings sometimes with F&B or Public Health and Safety. So I think that was Jean who just asked, could other people go?
Yes.
Maybe if we are able to get him, we can do, multiple committees and it's sufficient for him. Thank you.
Okay, go. We're just diving through the, no, just our job. We're just diving through this. So we're just getting ready to vote. Any more, do you have any questions about the capital? Yeah. Okay. Okay, capital, and then we're voting also on the 6-year plan at the same time. Okay, the two together? All right. Okay, are we ready to vote? Did we vote? We voted. No, I didn't think so. We stopped right there. Okay, all right. We got, okay. So, all in favor, please? Huh?
Trick question.
Yeah. Well, no, I was thinking, I got the first and the second, but I've been known to forget. So, all in favor of the 6-year plan and the capital projects for this, for fiscal year 26, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Patty says aye.
Carol says aye.
Andy says aye.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Patty. Okay, good. All right, we'll move on. The rest of this is, I think, a lot quicker. But since we've done half of my chairman's reports, it makes it all faster anyway. Okay. Now we'll move on to the operating. And I think what I suggest is that we do is the
reserve fund?
I'm going to get there. The operating, and under operating expenses, that will be Park and Rec, and also the community and environment, which I told you all about a couple meetings ago, and then the recreation programs fund. So we'll vote all three of those at one time if it's okay with everyone, and I'll trot you through them real quick. Just for the general fund, the selectmen's operating budget for Parks and Rec is $1,948,901. None of it changed from when we reviewed it. stayed the same. The revenue is $1,064,500, is the same, stayed the same. The expenditures were $1,948,000, that's right, that's what I just said. Okay, so let's go. The RTM Park and Rec Committee also follows the, right. Is that right? I better go back and double check that, but the expenditures were $1,948,901. We also follow community environment, which is what their budget is, $157,898. The Darien Beautification Commission proposed budget is $34,600. Monuments and Ceremonies Commission proposed budget is $21,910. The Darien Harbor Master proposed budget at $3,300. And the other grants, which include Holiday Lights, Museum of Darien, the Depot, and Kids in Crisis, totals $98,088. And lastly, the Parks and Recreation Program Fund, which is, this fund was established to identify the actual revenue and expenses that result from the various programs and special activities run by the Parks and Recreation Department. Program registration revenue and instructor expenditures are recorded in this fund. Program fees are designed to fully cover the cost of running each program. Revenue in excess of expenditures will be transferred to the general fund to offset salary and other overhead expenses that will continue to be charged to the general fund. So the idea, it's equal. The revenue is $1,685,000. The expenditures are $1,685,000. They bumped it up a little this year. It was 1.4 for the last 2 years. So I think expenses have gone up. Fees have gone up. We've got so somebody 436. We don't know that. Is that still the same person? Okay. Alrighty. So,
Don't do it.
Yeah, don't let that.
yeah, F&B got bombed after we did, so we're not the only people.
Who did?
F&B.
Oh, God.
Oh, they did too?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. So is Jack. It's all Jack.
That's right, it's his fault he was at our meeting, right?
He was at our meeting.
Yeah. So anyway, so the, too many numbers here, where was I? So the projected, that's okay, the projected revenue budget, like I said, increased. The expenditure budget was bumped up with transfers of $337,000, but it's equal. So may I have a motion to approve these budgets? Sandy moves, Kelly seconds. All in favor, any questions or comments? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Patty says aye.
Andy says aye.
Carol's aye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Chef. Thank you, Diane. Okay, so that's these guys for this year. Phew.
I saw one of those gardens today. I was like, oh my God, it looks so great up by the middle school.
Yeah?
Yeah, it looks really good.
Good. All right, I'm doing all the talking, guys. Updates, committees and commissions. Okay, does anybody have any updates?
Can I give a Great Island
Sure.
update?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so, the meeting was 3 hours and 30 minutes, so I'm going to cut to the chase, but I'm gonna give you, there's still a decent amount of detail, but I'm gonna go real fast and do a quick version of it, as quick as I can. I'm just gonna give you the updates on what basically their proposals are that are gonna be given out as the master plan at their next at the meeting that they're going to be doing for everybody on May 17th. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just start with the greenhouse. That's that first house you hit in the beginning. ADA parking, root cellar, conversion for the restrooms, a pedestrian path through a meadow. So there's going to be a meadow behind there. An arrival terrace outside of the restrooms, kind of for orientation, and for a place for people to sit in small gatherings. That's all under the low amount of, how would I say? They have this spelled out as low, medium, and high in terms of both financial and work that they would have to do. So that's the low. Under medium, it's the things that I just mentioned, as well as, these are all potentials, mind you, caretaker's residence or administration office inside that greenhouse building. A pedestrian pathway through the meadows that they're doing, large terrace outside the restrooms where they could also do like a pop-up community event. And then community gardens is also potential there for, which is great, because in the beginning they hadn't really talked about community gardens. I think they got a lot of feedback from that on some of the last few surveys. And then under the high, a nonprofit office with relationship with cultivation in the greenhouse, or a conservancy office. So if we end up doing a Great Island Conservancy, that could potentially be where their office would be, or a rental facility for small conferences or board retreats. So that's the update on that greenhouse, that first building we see. The next thing we see is the historical
Sorry, Patty,
stables.
sorry, I'm just gonna, really quickly,
Hi.
so I know you said there's like a low, medium, high.
Mhm.
So the caretaker's residence, large terrace outside restrooms, community gardens, that's considered medium, as in,
Cost.
got it,
I'll take pictures of my notes and send them to you after the meeting.
thank you.
If that's helpful, okay. The stables is the next thing, the historical stables. So under low, and I've given this update that we were their potential to do just a small cafe in the, well, actually they were talking about outside seating in front of the stables. But under low, they're also talking about a small cafe in the west wing of the stables, also seating some outside, an accessible path to the front of the stables, so more ADA, utilize a utility enclosure towards the back of it, and also kind of a parking area. Throughout this, you'll hear that they have like a fire staging session, just in case there's an issue. So it's a place where like fire trucks could pull up and drop their equipment. And then existing restroom could be expanded to serve if they end up choosing the stables to do a bigger number of visitors because of whatever they decide to do with it. So that's all under low. Under medium for stables, the same thing, plus they're gonna be stabilizing the lawn. Right. Yeah, stabilizing the lawn for event booths along the stable's main path. And then also a proposed terrace at the Oak Hill Lookout, which is just to the right of the stables. It's kind of closer to where the White House is to the right. And then for high use and money, it would be the stables, they would do a development footprint on the old building foundation. And the old building foundation was where the riding room is what they call it, where they trotted the horses around in circles inside a room, particularly in the winter. So that part is not historic. They have to be very careful about what they're doing in the historic part of the stables. But that was something that was built, X number of years ago and not, years and years ago. Inside the stables, also under medium high, would be using the entire ground floor for a community center, or to expand a cafe, yoga studio, lounge, classroom, studios, and a flexible multi-purpose space or event space. And then they're also talking about potential for an elevator for future public access up to the second floor. The polo field, which is that field in front of the beautiful historic stables that looks down towards the water. They're under low, they're doing minor lawn improvements, or they propose to do minor lawn improvements to allow for passive picnicking and recreation. And then also at the very end, like right before you get to the water, if you're walking from the stables down towards the water on that proposed picnic area, to do an opening in the historic stone wall for pedestrian flow, so people could flow into that area, and then they would do some planting in that area. Medium, for same thing that we mentioned, but also potential food truck loop for food trucks and other vendors to activate the lawn. They call activate means, start having events there. And the other thing under medium would be a pedestrian circuit in the lawn, i.e. a path around the outside. I don't have any details on the kind of path they would do. Hopefully it's a wood chip path, but for the outside. So inside the walled area, but where the green grass is, basically. And then under high, the same thing, all of the above, but a reinforced lawn for temporary stages to hold performances and movie nights. So that's it for that area with the stables. The next thing is Scott Hill, and Scott Hill is actually where the White House is. The White House is right to the left of the stables, if you all have taken that tour. This might be a little controversial because at the last meeting, there was a proposal to demo it, take it down, but several of the people on the GI said, why would we take down a building when we could use it for bathrooms and for rental, for certain events or stuff. But they're proposing to demo it and take it down to create views to the water for passive picnicking and play, and also kind of doing an area called the adventure play area. And under medium, same stuff, but detailed what the kind of adventure natural play is. It's just like an outdoor play area, but it's not anything that we would have like at Cherry Lawn or at Baker Park. It's just natural. If you walk behind the Darien Nature Center, you'll see how they do outdoor nature stuff. So that's what they mean by the play area. And they also propose under medium for the Scott Hill / White House area, a terrace for picnics and parental supervision in the nature playground. So I like hearing the parental supervision. And under high, the same things, plus also, in addition, a gathering shelter for education. And so if you go on the photos online, you can see an open air kind of shelter that's made out of, it's got like a wooden roof, and then it's open kind of out looking. So it's stuff that you would see at different places. Moving on to the Carriage House. The Carriage House is what I call where they used to keep the old-fashioned cars that they had, the Ziegler families. If you walk through it, remember there's that crank in the middle and it turned the car around. So it looks like something that's in Central Park. And they're talking about, they restore wetlands around there. And then what's interesting about this, when they first started talking about doing things there, it was so dark to me, I couldn't imagine why they were talking about holding events there. But I recommend you go on and look at the pictures, because it really gives a view. And if you ever go to Waveney, they have in their carriage barn, that's where they have like art shows, or some music or things like that. It's not huge, but they do a really nice job. So
that's my favorite building, Patty. Patty, that's my favorite building.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
So I kept thinking about it.
I'm talking about it on Great Island.
This one?
Yeah, every time we did
Carriage
the
House.
walk though, I was like, how can it's so dark in here, how can we do stuff? But you'll see, like, they did a nice job. So, and that's all under low, still, converting, some of that, so they can have small exhibitions, lectures, little conferences, private events. And the great thing is it's already ADA compliant because it's at the grade level. So they could also add bathrooms outside, right outside there as well, because if they're doing some of the events and somebody needs a bathroom, so that makes sense. Under medium, it's the same thing, but there's also a proposal to do a boat walk through the wetlands for a natural nature experience. And what it is there's wetlands that are kind of in the front of it and behind it. So they're just talking about a connection, in front of it, and then you hit that spot, and then it continues through the back of it. So again, the photos look great. And then under high would be the same thing, but a wood deck in the back for bigger gatherings and programs. So that's that. The estate house, low is just to restore the terraces. We know that that's gonna cost us a bazillion, and as I like to say, we need some billionaire people to kick in. But restore the terraces, provide pedestrian circulation, i.e. when they say that, that just means like a trail, like get people walking along the coast. So do a trail along the coast, so we kind of are off the asphalt path and we've got a little trail right down by the water. Kind of, so if you're facing the estate house, it's the back of the house where that trail would be going, so right around the water, which would be great. Create spaces for temporary outdoor events, and then you would have portable toilets. You'd have a support tent for catering and for example, a support tent, and then a new terrace they're proposing to build, not a big one, but a smaller one back there for some outside events. And then they want to stabilize the lawn to the left, so if you're in the back of the house to the left, close to the water, they want to I guess it needs more stabilization in front there. Under medium, same things, but plus to have 2 new terraces over by the Dolphin House, which is to the right side of the main house. It's part of the house, but it's called the Dolphin House on the right side of it for casual gatherings and enjoying the view. And that view would be right where those statues are that were kindly donated from the family. The medium also has event pavilion and terrace for birthday parties and family gatherings. And then under high for the estate house, well, high can be just spending a ton of money, but right now they're talking about all the things we just mentioned, but to basically maintain a lawn for large community events. Also adding the restrooms and conditional catering support. So I feel like this is going to be either for outdoor weddings or for, events where people want to rent in and do an event there, or we want to do a community event for Darien. A trail connection to the proposed play area that I was talking about. And then a new outlook by the Sunset Terrace, which overlooks the Ziegler's Cove kind of area. So really pretty, and then barrier plantings. And so now we're going, and then they also talked about the estate house to, serve as a function hall or a wedding venue or doing private events, kind of like Waveney does in New Canaan. And they said it would need significant investment to bring it up to code and make it compliant, the inside, and to even make it attractive as a rental venue. So that's why they're kind of focusing on what we can do on the outside for now. And I would assume till they create a conservancy, which I believe they will, listening to them. Now we're talking about the beach. Remember where the beach is to the left? The low area, the low part, low in terms of maintenance and costs would be to preserve the beach house, which is the little small white house to the left where they play cards and been hanging out for years. But to demolish the changing room, which is the small house to the right. So keep one of those little houses to the left, little beach house by the beach, but demolish the changing room. They propose to renovate or replace the squash court building and use it as a marine education center or kind of a kayak pavilion, and then rehab the beach area, and then lookout points for key views. And they're proposing a kind of what they call the terrace area for when you first pull up, when you first come up before the entrance to the beach. So all of that is under low. Under medium would be to demolish, in addition to the beach house, to demolish the changing room house on the right as well. And then under high, same plus to build a viewing gathering area. And if you go online and look at the pictures, it's not just tables and chairs, it's like a structure, but it's an open structure. And so I I can see it adding value, but I can see it adding cost, so I would recommend you look at it. Onto the bridle trail that they're calling Bridle Trail Coastal Walk under Low, just maintain the bridle trail, past to key lookouts up to Long Island Sound. Kind of something I put by as a star by it was a boardwalk along the coast overlooking Long Island Sound, and then restore the wetlands. And then they also have a seasonal trail with 2 gates around it. So more on that when we get more details. That's all under Low. Under Medium, it's the same thing, but to do a full boardwalk all along the coastal loop in what's called the northeast section of the island, and to build a picnic deck there. And under High, same things, but also a wetland lookout structure over by a different area by the wetlands. So those are the kind of 2 potential builds, but not like not a huge thing that could be in that area, but safely, environmentally safely, and obviously must be allowed EPC wise. Playhouse. The playhouse is that pink house to the right of the of the estate house, and we didn't get to go in and look at it, or at least I never went in to look at it, but we kind of do the curve right after you go past the estate house, and it's tucked in over there. That's a pretty house to look when you're coming into Ziegler's Cove. If you're on a boat, you can see it right there. That's where the kids used to always hang out and play and live as they got a little older. The Low would be to replace, this is simple, replace the car drop area by the playhouse and basically repave the driveway because it needs it. Medium is to build a terrace in the front of the playhouse for small events or gatherings. And High would be to restore the historical gardens and add a meandering loop throughout the adjacent slopes. So that sounds nice. They're proposing that could also be used as a conservancy office or rental facility for smaller conferences or board retreats. And its smaller room size would be better for offices than a big public event. And then the last thing is the boathouse, which is down by the water, that I love. The Low, they're proposing make a terrace to enjoy the view of Ziegler's Cove. Medium is that plus a potential concession and a path along the coast to look out in the cove. And then High would be as mentioned above, plus additional parking at the boathouse and or a restaurant and a bar. And if you look at the photos, if they were doing a restaurant, they were going to try and use similar tiles to what we have in the historic stables, but I'm sure they're way more expensive than what we bought many, many years ago to do that, or what the Zieglers did. And so that's it. I'm not going to go through. They also have all these sheets on O&M, operations and maintenance, but you can reference that on their presentation, which from their April meeting. It's on page 76 if you want to go through the numbers for operation and maintenance. And they also compare what we're doing at Great Island or propose to do with 7 other properties that are in the tri-state area and some are across the United States, but they're kind of similar. So you get numbers and you get to see like how much other people have spent or not, or on the lower end and on the much higher end, I should say. But they're projecting that Great Island operating budget will be $4 to $5 million a year for Great Island. So in finale, in closing, the GIAC meeting, their next meeting is tonight as we speak, and then their May 17th is a community workshop. So I would encourage you all to go online and look at the last April GI meeting if you want to see the pictures, and if you can't do that, circle May 17th and go to that community workshop, which is at Town Hall, and then we'll be followed with the tour of Great Island. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Nice job. Patty.
I saved you from watching 3.5 hours.
Yeah. Isn't there a lecture too at the library from the, and I can't remember the man's name, or on the architecture?
On the architecture, yeah.
Yeah, coming up, is it Tuesday? You don't have...
I know there's a lawn presentation being given on Wednesday. I don't have that.
Okay. That's
Along that, but that's by the Dairy Nature Center, I think.
Yeah,
It's given by-
not that.
Yeah.
This is different, this is on the architecture of Great Island, but I
Yeah,
think, but check, if you check at the library, it's on there, I just couldn't come up with it for the meeting. Thanks a lot.
my pleasure.
Susan's not here tonight, so she would bring us up to date on the advisory commission on coastal waters, but I can give you a brief update. Susan and Frank Kemp and I and Patty from Wayne's office, who joined us at our last meeting, the lawyer, talked to us about the ordinance, the harbor ordinance, possible changes. We were all at the coastal waters meeting in April. And so then we reviewed the timeline for the harbor ordinance and charter amendments with the understanding that the RTM is in charge of any further changes that are made. So I'll bring you up to date on where that is, that process is. There'll be a public hearing on June 11th at 7:30 p.m. in Town Hall Auditorium. And they're looking to get on the September RTM agenda, which means that we will do more review, I think, in September, with the ordinances. We're hoping to have a presentation, they're hoping to have a presentation before that public hearing, probably right before with the Q&A session too, sort of like what we did at our meeting, really, and it's a good opportunity. It would be nice to do it sooner. However, it's hard to get a time or a day when all these folks can be there, and so they can be there on the 11th. So fingers crossed, we'll set something up like an hour before that public hearing. Frank and I also attended the boat club meeting this past Monday when they reviewed the timeline too. Sort of very straightforward. And that redlined document is on the town website, so if you lost what we had, you can find it there. And the legal notice for the public hearing will be in the paper on Tuesday. And so we need to gather our questions and concerns, and you can send anything to me. If you want to wait till after the public hearing, that's okay too. So the process is beginning. And it seemed weird to me to have the, I don't know about you, but to have the public hearing now, but then, I mean, the RTM doesn't meet after like the 9th of June, right? So, but the 60-day waiting period after the public hearing sort of forces you to have the public hearing now, because if you waited till September to have the public hearing, then you wouldn't get it done before the end of the RTM year, probably. So that's why now. So we'll just have to suffer through. So I look forward to hearing from everybody with all their questions and concerns. I'm sure some people were saving them. There you go. George Knight, May 20th, Darien Library Community Room. Thank you.
That's who that person is?
For
The architecture.
the architecture of Great Islands. It should be good. I think he's the one who's, Great Island, yeah.
With architecture.
Yeah. It should be good. I think he's the fellow that was taking us around, yes, I think so, yes. And so he was fascinating on the tours.
20th.
Oh, 20th.
May
sorry.
20th.
May 20th.
How can I see this?
From 7
What time was it?
7
Do you have the time?
6 o'clock.
Oh, it's 7
Thank you.
p.m. here.
Registration will close on that closed on.
Tuesday, May 20th from 7 to 8 p.m.
That's right.
Registration
Thank you.
is required.
Yeah, so you gotta register.
By May 20th, yeah.
By May what?
By May 20th at 6 p.m. you have to register by.
And then the thing starts at 7.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Should be really good. So I'll pass around the legal notice if anybody wants to look at it. Or it'll be in the papers.
So Adele, do you want to open it up to see if anybody has concerns so we can all know? Like somebody might have a concern that the rest of us aren't thinking about, and it might help us to inform our
Sure.
decisions or investigate it.
I'm
Right,
happy to, for everybody to give, to say what your thoughts now, or write them down and send them. Either way, it's fine. Anybody have any suggestions or questions? No. Do you remember? No, but I think we're chasing the bugs though here.
I mean, they did a really good job.
They
So
did.
that's, yeah.
I know that Frank already, sort of went through it all, and he has a whole bunch of edits but they're just, a dot here, an underline there, make it the same as, change the format here, because it's really, this is not a memo, you need to make it look like an ordinance, that kind of stuff. So he's holding those, and so those will be the sort of the first edits, I think, that we might, do. But if anyone has any substantive questions, I'm happy to, I won't be able to answer them, but I'm happy to write them down and get the questions answered.
Well, particularly because we have several voters on the committee, so they would be, well-informed, or I would think would have good questions.
Yeah, I think they will. Anybody want to offer anything now?
Adele?
Yes.
Cheryl. Yeah, I have some concerns about some of these ordinances, but I prefer to bring it out at public hearing, and I think other people would too. However, you said there will be an informational meeting an hour before the public hearing?
That's the idea. That's not been firmed up, Cheryl, so I have to get back to everybody about it, but that was the
I
idea.
know it's a difficult time to get everybody out and about in June, but I think that it should be a separate meeting. I think the discussion with the Harbor Advisory Commission to explain why they wrote the ordinance the way they did, possibly, and then we can decide how we want to if we want to rewrite something. I'm not saying we are, I'm not saying we would, I'm saying if something came up from the public. There are a lot of voters in this town, and I think this needs to get to everybody in the town. So I've passed it on to some voters I know, and I've asked them to get back to me with some of their concerns if they're not able to go to the public hearing. But I think that there should be 2 meetings to get this right.
I hear you. I think it's just a matter of whether you can get the people that need to do the talking there.
Right.
On the same day, and it was a bit of a, it was interesting just to get the 11th, to be quite honest, where everybody could be there. So, but we will try. I will pass that information along. I've heard it, and I understand it. It makes good sense.
Adele, did they talk about it at the Harbor, at the book club meeting on Monday?
Just that it was going to happen. They just simply went through the timeline.
Okay.
And referred people, voters and everyone, to please go on the town website and read the red line copy, which is there. So it's available to everybody. But we've got our own copy, so we can read it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, guys, on that? Okay. I'm going to move on to the chairman's report, which I think I've given most of it already. Just a little bit from the last commission meeting. The last commission meeting was really primarily focused on a guided discussion of the town plan of conservation with Jeremy Ginsburg, and planning and zoning. The folks from the consultants were not able to attend, and so Jeremy sort of led the discussion. It was interesting. You should watch the video of the meeting. See, the community gardens at Cherry Lawn are having a birthday celebration on June 28th. Updates on the arbor projects. I did not go back and check and look at these today, but the Baker accessible matting, at the Baker Playground, the accessible matting is installed, and I don't think they put in the walkway yet. I think they're working on it. One of the playscape elements was broken, so I think they're in the process of fixing that, and may be done already, I don't know. And then the Cherry Lawn basketball court, Patty.
Yes,
They were working on a repair schedule. I don't know if you've seen anything happening yet? Noticed? No?
I have not noticed that.
Okay, I don't think they've done it yet. I think.
But I know that it's on their plan to do it.
Yeah,
I know it was on their
absolutely.
plan. They were waiting for it to warm up.
Yeah.
Because
That's
what
right.
happens is when we did like both the pickleball and the basketball court, like part of it was done and then you had to wait, then they waited, they did it, in the late fall and then they waited and they couldn't seal it until the spring. And so
didn't know.
that adds to the cracks. But they're on it, happy, all good. And they're I heard that Jen Fava had been out looking at the pickleball courts and measuring, because there's a crack down, some cracks. And I think she was trying to bid that, have them do both.
That's right, she was trying to get a bid
Yep.
on that too. Yeah, you're right, yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
I forgot about
Hey,
that.
can I ask you, that playground, the item that was broken, that was at Baker? You said,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Not Cherry Lawn?
Right, at Baker. I think it was the digger. I believe that was what
Yeah.
it was.
So is it new?
It's new, it's brand new, yeah, unfortunately broke pretty quickly. So, part of it broke off, so.
Are there plans to replace it? or-
Oh, yeah, they'll either fix it or replace it, yeah, they're on it. The program information as of the end of March was that the spring registration was up 5% over last year. The tennis court block lottery revenue was up, but that was really up due to the increase in the fees. So the registration was about even from last year. Summer registration was down 3% from last year, mostly due to one less week of summer camps due to the calendar, school getting out when it gets out. So they'll try to compensate with adding 4 days of camps right after school gets out that week. And the other thing is that Janice Marzano was hired as the Youth Commission Camp Coordinator on most of the summer. So anyway, she's helping
So
out.
she's back. She can't
back.
stay
You know,
away.
I think she's helping them out big time,
Nice.
since they were, we need, with Felicia gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know it's in good hands.
Yes.
She's my kid's first Cub Scout leader.
Used to be a lunch lady at Ox Ridge back in the day.
Oh, man,
That's when she started.
She done it all.
And the depot.
She ran the depot for
Yeah.
years, yeah. She just does a great job, and she's just great with kids. She loves kids. They love her. May 18th is Adventure Day at Select Woods. So there's 2 sessions, I think 11 to 1 and 1 to 3, and they'd love volunteers to help. And fireworks are on July 11th.
July 11th.
Closer to July 4th than ever.
It turns out there aren't very many companies that do this. And when you sign up, you sort of sign up for, you got it's like a 3-year window, and so it'll be a while before they can try again to get it closer to the 4th.
The rain day is like August or something.
But they had good weather last year. They had good weather last year, right? Yeah. Okay, and that was it, because the rest of my report was about pear tree and weed. So if anybody has anything you guys want to talk about, now's the time. If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
A motion, so I can go to dinner
Patty motions.
on the beach.
Sue Ellen seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great meeting.